I tried to tell him, I was like, look, I can't promise you none, but I can just tell you my story is, like, the second I woke up, I felt my hand again. I know that's, like, you're not supposed to see instant results, but I felt the difference.
Well, in discs, you can. I had the similar, like, when I had my back done, by putting that little bit of volume in the disc, release the nerve.
Yeah.
And so, like, I did too right away, where my left hamstring had been tight in a ball since the back surgery. And I couldn't straighten my leg all the way. I did 2 years of physical therapy. But yeah, right after the procedure, when that disc expanded, it came off of that nerve, and I felt my hamstring release. Welcome to the CPI Podcast. I'm here with somebody who's actually become a really good friend, Glenn Devitt. You're like one of our staff's, everybody's favorite patients. I think this is your third time down, but only second time for stem cells, right?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. And it's because your stories are so awesome, dude. And they're so inspiring. So you're the founder of the Sentinel Foundation. You're known around here as the pedo hunter. And we all appreciate that because nobody likes a pedo. And how you doing, man? Thanks for coming in.
Doing well, man. I mean, good. I love it down here. Tijuana has been beautiful. The food's amazing. Your staff is, great. They're top notch. So I've had an amazing time. So it's my third time in 4 months, I think. June, July, skipped August, September. So
yeah. So we met at a gala for Light Shine, right? Operation Light Shine, Matt's event. And you were already tell us a little story. You were already trying to come in and stuff.
Yeah, which is crazy. So last September, I needed to get a full disc replacement. My C6 was completely jacked. I was medically retired from the military because of my neck, and it just got worse. And so I had researched, like, I've never had a surgery before. I had researched CPI. I saw all the things on Rogan, and I happened to be in Nashville, and I reached out to your organization, but you were so booked up for like 3-4 months, and I was in a lot of pain. And I don't like painkillers or being on painkillers. So I was like, all right, surgery's the next best option. And just turns out I'm good friends with Matt Murphy that started Operation Light Shine. That's now our president of operations at Sentinel Foundation. And he asked me to come to his gala. I was there in Nashville already doing a launch of a for-profit company I had. Mm-hmm. Fate, is lined up. And it turns out I go in, I see the where we're taking pictures, and it says CPI stem cell. So I'm like, oh, shit, maybe these guys are sponsoring. And I meet you and Ed, and you're like, hey, yeah, we'll get you in, no problem. Came up to me, we're like, we'll make this happen at all costs to make this happen. So it worked out well.
That was an awesome event, man. Like, hearing that one survivor speak and the stories was just so moving. And Ed, our fearless leader, Mr. Clay, he was already good friends with Matt, and the story knew about his sister and stuff. I didn't. I just kind of knew they were good people, and that Ed said, let's get behind these guys. Absolutely. Let's do it. And then I met so many cool people there, and you guys were just doing really amazing work. So we're happy we were able to squeeze you in. Yeah. But then you had a couple little complications, huh? Your neck got like jacked up again, so we had you come back in, right?
Yeah, after my first procedure, I felt amazing right away. You're like, hey, it's going to take time. And I was in some pain for 2 weeks. And I didn't know at that time that I had a torn rotator and my neck injury because they were both radiating the same way. And so once my neck was healed, my spinal or my shoulder nerve pain going down to my arm was, horrendous. So came back in, that's when they did an MRI, and my bulging disc was already gone, which was nuts. They kind of blew my mind, and then they realized I had torn my rotator at that point in time. So you guys squared me away, got some cortisone in there, got the inflammation down so I could feel my arm again. And then, I'm back out here now to get that shoulder fixed. So.
Yeah, and you were like in between missions too. Didn't you go right to somewhere else after?
Yeah, we just got back from Thailand. The team, unfortunately, I can't do the missions anymore because of doing podcast tours. But the team out there, which are a bunch of legends, they were able to get 9 kids. So they rescued 9 out of 1 individual. So we took down 4 pedophiles with the Thai police. And so we're not the ones taking them out. They're taking them out. We kind of fix the assets for them or the targets, and then we make sure that they prosecute and they have all the right data to prosecute against these individuals. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was super successful. It was one of our largest operations to date to fly that many individuals over to Thailand. So we took 12 guys over there to work the cases with them. And that's what we do is we go in, we have to train them, assist them. So this is a year process. So back December last year, we were training them on our techniques. And so we have a full gamut, which I don't want to disclose, of what we teach them on how to catch these pedophiles and traffickers. And then we come back about 4 months later, train them again, so they start working cases. And so after the first training, they already then caught pedophiles based on the information we trained them on. and then we go back, we train them again. So it's kind of like we call it in the military like a left seat, right seat ride. So we drive it first, then they drive. We kind of guide them along the way on how we do things and bring it together. And it's more of a logistic cost, right? Because we had to fly 31 police officers up to an area and fly 12 guys into that region. So you're looking at 43 people that I'm paying for housing, sleeping, logistics, everything that goes into it. Then to get the kids, at the end of the day, it's a huge reward. But sometimes you just don't know if you're going to get any kids. Yeah. And so it really varies per operation. But it was always a staple to make, Thailand is overrun with pedophiles. And so, our motto is basically to create as much fear as we can. They have to know. Fear is the only way to stop people from doing what they're doing. Right now, the U.S., the laws permit them. That's why you see it so rampant. We don't have enough law enforcement. The laws permit it. It's so they don't really fear the penalty for it. So.
Right. Man, I mean, hearing that the laws permit them and like the acceptability of it to me is just like gross. You know what I mean? Like it's just what the hell's going on. And now it's become such like a political issue. Like like you're for it, you're against it, you're on one blue team, red team, like people like me in the middle don't understand how like,
it's supposed
like
to be
how can anybody
bipartisan.
be it? Yeah, that should be the most bipartisan thing there is, you know what I mean? Protect children, like what the fuck,
I mean, when we started this, we were like, me and my co-founder and then the other guys we brought in, we're all I'm former intelligence, we got special operations guys in it, and we're like, with rescuing kids, it's very black and white. You're either a pedophile or you're not.
Yeah.
Like for me, it's very shocking to see, what they're doing with our children, laws that are being passed, minor attracted persons that they're talking about. It blows my mind because I would say 98% of us that aren't pedophiles think this is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Or if you're a father, it's just crazy to think that this is okay. With predators are going to prey. You're seeing this with bathrooms where men can dress as women and go into bathrooms, and they're just happening into abuse. They're abusing children.
Right.
I won't let my daughters go into a public restroom unless I'm taking them in, or I'm watching them, or I have one of my older children take them into that room because it's like I'm standing guard at the door because it's not worth taking that risk now, which is insane to think about that they're allowing us.
Yeah.
And I don't know where it's coming from. I have no idea.
I was going to ask you, like, what do you think the push for this is? Like, I know there's like an old TED talk that is like about not stigmatizing minor attracted people and pedophiles. And even when I saw that come out, I'm like, what?
You're a pedophile.
Like,
Yeah, it's the only thing I can think of is like either it's an outside entity that's attacking us and eating us from the inside.
Yeah.
Where there's some major influence from major, this ESG, whatever the hell they're calling it, where they're making push for this woke politics. I have no idea. We try to stay out of politics for the most part, but unfortunately, I thought with having a Sentinel Foundation as around child rescue operations and children, I thought I wouldn't have to ever step into the political world or talk about these topics. But it's absolutely crazy to think that there's a left and right divide right now around protecting our children.
Yeah,
it's mind-blowing.
It is absolutely mind-blowing. And but I just always wonder like how much it really is. Like, come on, I know people on both sides. I know people that don't pick teams like myself that think it's it's terrible, but it just seems to be what gets amplified by the media.
Yeah, I mean the media is. I mean they're the ones driving this, right?
Right. Yeah. So it seems like it's coming from either what they're being told or somebody inside the media and stuff. And well, we all appreciate what you do. I'm honored that you guys have talked to me about joining your board, and I know Ed and everybody here. We're excited to get behind you guys and to keep doing the awesome work that you're doing. That's why it's good that we can get you down here, heal you up some more, and get you back out there so you can do what you do best. And so what was your background like kind of in the military, right? I think you told me former Delta Force and stuff.
Yeah, so for myself, I joined up day after 9/11. Once that happened, I was a senior in high school, went into the military, joined infantry. I was National Guard being an officer. So it's called SMP, so simultaneously military program, whatever it's called. And then Iraq kicked off. And in 2003, so I thought that the wars were going to be over like Desert Storm. I thought like Afghanistan and Iraq were going to be over and I'm never going to get a chance to deploy. I couldn't have been more wrong, right? Like the war went on for the next 20 some plus years. So I withdrew from college. I woke up one day, withdrew from college and went active duty. I reclassed into counterintelligence, went to Iraq for 15 months in Baghdad, Sadr City area. and then recruited to go over to a special mission unit at Fort Bragg. Worked intelligence over there for a few years. You know, it was probably one of the worst jobs I've ever had. You know, for me, it was like being the long snapper on a Super Bowl team. Like, it's cool, but for me, it was like I think I could do better than just be intelligence, at this. But it was the job I had. I really enjoyed my time, the people I've interacted with over there, and then I got medically retired shortly after that. Went into Homeland Security. There's a special program called the Hero Corps, so Human Exploitation Rescue Operative. And what they do is they train you for 4 weeks around the mindset behind a pedophile, how they groom children. So we had case studies, you had psychiatrists, a psychologist to come in and show you of how these individuals in pedophile major cases manipulate these children. And then we learned digital forensics for 8 weeks. So I didn't really have a tech background whatsoever. I had an intelligence background. I did some forensics, phone forensics during the heyday in Iraq. But then I got this digital forensics, kind of really opened my eyes. And so for a year, you watch everything from infants to teenagers get raped every day. And it was like the worst thing I've ever seen in my life.
Man, I can't even imagine.
Where I was just going crazy. And so I was like, I knew I wanted to hunt these individuals down. And then, dealing at the federal level, I got offered to be a special agent, a direct hire 2 special agent. And I had to sit there and choose, like, do I either go start a nonprofit or work in a nonprofit or take the special agent position? And I think at that point in time, I was really burnt out from watching the videos. Like, I couldn't do it. Like, some people, I have guys that work, I know that done it for 15, 20 years. Like, for me, I could compartmentalize everything, but that I couldn't.
Yeah.
And so I was like, it lit a fire underneath me. And I was like, I'm going to hunt everyone I can possibly. And so first year I left, I partnered with another nonprofit. I worked undercover in 8 different countries in, I think it was like 2015, 16. Around the world, and we were working cases that law enforcement could not find, and we were tracking them down. During that time, I was also getting into hacking and cybersecurity and a thing called open source intelligence, and I rose through the ranks of that pretty quickly. And I taught at 4 different black hats, is because I had a ripe data set of pedophiles and traffickers, and then I was breaking Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and getting data that I shouldn't have legally. They were leaving doors open. They were putting all their security on web-based, and this is when mobile apps started taking off. And so I was exploiting them to be able to get phone numbers and tie them phone numbers to accounts, and then unlocking people's friends lists based on certain techniques that they had that other people had figured out. So it was kind of like this community, and I was using them for the child crimes, and I got really good at doing that. And so I had this for-profit, nonprofit model where I'd go take what I learned, talk governments, and they would pay, and then we kind of self-funded, me and my co-founder, our nonprofit for the first 4 years of doing techniques, cases. We helped catch the worst pedophile in UK history. He was an evil son of a bitch. He had 4 girls try killing himself. They wanted him for 5 years. He was blackmailing them. They gave us the whole case file. So here you go. And they're like, do whatever you can. And we didn't stop. I mean, I sat there for hours upon hours reading every single text message, email that bastard ever sent. And then 3 months later, they captured him for it. And we don't know what we provided to it. We just know that we played a part in it. For it, the law enforcement had the hard job. We just try to help them out as much as we can. So, but when you have that passion, it's just if you have that network, it's not like I'm solving the cases. It's like I'm reaching out. Like I was talking to Mark Cuban's personal hacker. I was reaching out to my hacking network. Like, hey, does anybody know anything about this? There's something off in the matrix, and then they'll come back with hey, check out this. So it was like a kind of like a crowdsourcing effort where I had the case information, and I can't divulge the case information to these people, but I'm like, hey, there's a situation like this. What would you do? And then they would give solutions back, and we kind of just business like the middleman, pass through from anonymous and other organizations back through to law enforcement, kind of all working together.
Man, that's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
So much stuff. So I didn't realize that you actually started with that while you were, while you're working with the government, basically, and then decided you could do more getting out of it. That's cool.
Yeah, man, it was. It was definitely one of those things. I remember the first call when they said, yeah, you've been selected. Now, to do the Hero Corps program, you have to go unpaid for a year. So I had to leave a 6-figure job that I already had medically retired lined up to, contract. And so you had to go unpaid for a year. I had to pack up my whole house, my kids, and move to Charlotte.
Why unpaid? That doesn't
It was
make
just
sense.
the beginning of pro. I was like class 2, so they were still trying to figure it out. And so
What's class 2 mean?
Class 2. Like, they've had 30, 40 classes now of this, but this program was just new. Class 1 just ended. Class 2.
Oh,
so
class, like a classroom.
Yeah,
I thought you
the
meant
class,
like a
we had,
level, like a
30.
class
At
level.
first, it was only former special operations guys and gals. And then they opened it. It's now open up to anyone that's veterans that served before. So Yeah, so it was like one of those life change. I'll never forget it. I was sitting at Gander Mountain in Fayetteville, Fort Bragg, and they're like, "Yeah, you've been selected out of this course." Because I walked in that interview and I was like, "Look, I can only go to Charlotte, and that's it." Because I was a single father at that time. I had a 5-year-old and 3-year-old, and I was like, if I leave the state, then I have issues with parenting and parental rights and everything like that. So I walked in, I was like, North Carolina, that's it. And they were like, "Yeah, you got Charlotte." And I told them then, I was like, "Yeah, I can't do it." And I knew instantly I fucked up. I literally hung up, and thank God it was a woman's cell phone, because I called back right away. I was like, "All right, I'll take the job."
Yeah.
I'll take it. I was like, you could just tell when you mess up and you trust your gut. It was
Yeah.
like one of those things. And it was a turning point, I would say, in my life that put me into this fight, because then I got exposed to everything and kind of ran with it. So
Yeah, so much purpose behind it.
you just
Well,
try
it's
to do
great.
more good than bad, right?
Yeah, that's it. Do no harm, take no shit. I love that, man.
Yeah.
And then you also told me, like, you got involved in some plant medicine. Like, what was the catalyst? Tell us about that story.
Yeah, I mean, like, so I've almost quit the nonprofit work for years. Like, I struggle back and forth because it's a dark world. Like, it fucks you up. And going back and forth and seeing the things and working the things. And so, like, I almost quit a few times. I got tattoos based on it. I was like, if I do this, I won't, like, I'll be forced to do it. And I was just dealing with, like, I don't like the word PTSD. I think, like, all trauma is equal. We all have trauma that we go through. And it's just, like, more of, like, how much trauma can you take at that point in time. And so, it's a crazy story. So right before COVID, like 2 days before the U.S. government shut down, I flew a team to Peru, Lima, Peru. And we're crafting a cover story. We're going to Iquitos undercover. And Iquitos is the largest landlocked city in the world. And our point is to play as tourists. It's like the Thailand of South America, where pedos go and abuse these jungle children. Number one thing for tourists to do there is a thing called ayahuasca. And, we're just dumb guys. We're like, yeah, we'll just go down there. We'll do some ayahuasca. That's why we're here. We'll play our cover part. And we go to meet with the general, and we're getting like our get out of the jail, like, hey, you guys can operate. This is your left and right limits. And thank God he's the general. I was like, yeah, I heard Miami's shutting down. And we're like, what? Like, I just flew 5 dudes in. What do you mean Miami's shutting down tomorrow? Like, that's our way home. And so I called back to the FBI, my contacts. He's like, you might want to get home. Like, they couldn't tell me exactly. And so we just voted. We're like a pirate ship. And so it's like, that's how we run our nonprofit, pretty much, like a democracy. And so I was like, you guys want to go to the jungles? Like, it's landlocked. We could get stuck there. Or is like, we just spent like $35,000 to fly everybody down there. Everyone voted, pretty much to go back home from that day. And the next day, the whole U.S. shut down.
Wow.
So we were like this close to going in the jungles, and they ran out of oxygen down there. We'd been stuck there for like a month. Like,
wow.
our evac story would have been hilarious, but like getting back to the States. But one of those things is like just trusting through it. And so, but during that period of time, like, we're like, we'll just go do some ayahuasca. Like, no big deal. We thought it was just like any kind of like drug or whatnot to fit into the cover. And during COVID, I just did some research, and then I really found it was fascinating, like what it did for trauma and people. And so I woke up like one Tuesday morning and was like, I got to go do it. It was like November 2020. Signed up for a place. COVID started like opening back up again. So I went to a place in Costa Rica, and like my second ceremony completely wiped all my trauma. Like, just clean slated
That's awesome.
it. So I fell in love with the medicine at that point in time, and was like, I want to keep doing this. And so I've done about 14 ceremonies in this 2-year period, just to really learn and practice the medicine and see what I did wrong. And I've learned a lot from the medicine too, of like what not to do, because it's a very powerful thing, because it basically opens you up. And so you can open yourself up, and you can change your ways, or you can actually put bad habits too in there. Like, it's a very, like, it's not a joke or a recreation at all for it. So yeah.
Yeah, I've never done it, but it's gotten so popular. Like, you just hear people just, I'm going to do ayahuasca. And I'm like,
yeah, I mean, some of these people are crazy. They're doing it like in California, Arizona, like with some, gringo, nothing against any gringo facilitators, but like for me, the power is in the people that like created the formula. So like, I study only with the Shipibo tribe now, down in Peru, in the Amazon, Bacopa area, or the Sacred Valley. I've done it, but they're from that region. So the Shipibo are considered the guardians of ayahuasca. So they're the ones that kept the recipe for 2,000 plus years, and they're the ones that spread it. So when you go in to do these ceremonies, like, the powers, medicine is powerful. It's probably like 30%, 40% of it, but the other 60 to 70% is purely the shaman, the maestros and maestros. Because like when they start singing, they're singing in Shipibo, which is an ancient language, and they're singing these ikaros, these songs. And like as they get closer, your body starts reacting to it. It's like there's a dance between the medicine and the shaman as they come through. And next thing you know, they're just like ripping you apart.
Wow.
Yeah, like it's like if you felt feared times 10,000, like the scariest you've ever been, but also if you felt love the most you've ever felt before. You can go in that wide spectrum of it. So once you fully let go and let loose, at first people have a hard time of just really letting go. Like you really have to just be at a low point, for it to really let go and to really get out of the medicine what you can. So
yeah. For me, like I just haven't had the calling, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm not like, but I get it. For some people, it's really big. I actually have an old friend from the fight world, Tony DeSouza, who he's from Peru. He was like a really badass wrestler. I think at one time he was like the highest ranked U.S. wrestler who was also a black belt in jiu-jitsu.
Wow.
Fought in the UFC, good friends with BJ Penn and Pete the Greek and those guys. Stayed with me in Brazil when I lived down there training. And he's back in Peru and he's doing ayahuasca treatments and stuff. And
amazing.
He always seemed like he was a little bit of a shaman kind of guy. He's out there. He's also one of the meanest mofos you ever. Man, his neck cranks. He created this move that people still call. It's called the Peruvian necktie, where he wraps his arms around your neck and then gets his legs involved on this front headlock choke. And oh man, you train with that guy, you couldn't turn your head for it. You need stem cells after you train with Tony DeSouza, man. He's bad, man. Shout out to Tony DeSouza. That's cool. And then I think you told me you went on and did some Ibo too, right?
Yeah, I just did Iboga. Because there's the Ibogaine, which is a pharmaceutical, and then I think it's like 1 alkaloid, and then Iboga is I think 14 alkaloids that they have, and so it's just the root versus the pharmaceutical side. Yeah. They both like Ibogaine was meant to, if people aren't aware, like I think it's 90% of all meth and heroin addicts that go and do Ibogaine are completely cured afterwards. Yeah. And so it's the oldest plant medicine. I think it goes back like 10,000 years or something crazy like that in the area called Gabon.
Gabon, Africa.
Africa. Yeah. And that's
rite
a whole
of passage ritual there, right?
What's it?
It's like a rite of passage ritual there, yep.
In the one tribe, I think it's the Biwiti. Biwiti tribe is the name of it, and it's no joke. I mean,
no joke.
I think they say like 1 out of 300 like die from it, or it's
gotta be careful with the heart. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're monitored. Where I went, I think it's BiwitiLife.com or BiwitiLife.org. Sorry, Michael. I went down there in Mexico, here in Cancun, and they do it in Cancun and they do it in Toronto, which he's an awesome individual, a guy named Jason Monger and Michael Cassidy that run that show. They're both amazing facilitators for it. And Iboga is just, you have to like go through, you have to check your heart. They're doing all your EKGs and everything before you go into the ceremony. And I only had 3 people in our ceremony. And there was an organization called vetsolutions.org that paid for the whole trip. Usually I pay for my own trips, but they were like, hey, yeah, we'll take care of it, pay for everything. I paid for my flight, I think. And so went down there, and man, it is super strong. Like, it's completely different than ayahuasca, right? It does
completely different than any.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more internal, right? Much
like,
more
you
internal.
have all the answers
Instead of like being out in the universe and feeling connected to everything, it's like all deep down inside you.
Yeah, you definitely look in yourself, and it's long as hell. So you're in ceremony for like 12 hours, and then they don't let you, like, you have no cell phone. You're by yourself in your room for like another 8 to 10 hours. So you're looking anywhere from like 20 to 24 hours of the ceremony process. You can't walk for a solid, like you can walk, but they have to hold you because it's like the Matrix is breaking.
Right.
It's like vibrations and energies and like, it's nuts.
I always tell people don't try it for fun.
No, this is not.
It is not fun. No. It is not fun. Yeah. So Ed used to have an Ibogaine clinic, and we did Ibogaine at Chipsa. Back when we first opened, and I did it. I would never do it again. I did it to try it. I didn't have like a problem that I think if you have a problem in something like that, it's super powerful, can help a lot of people, but it's not, you don't do it for fun.
No,
I feel the same way about ayahuasca. I feel like people try to do it for fun, and that's why I haven't been called to do it, because I'm just like, I don't.
They say the medicine will cause you when it's time. Like, you'll know when you'll know.
Maybe it never happens. Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't.
Yeah.
Well, who sees?
I would agree. Like, I don't think you ever push it. For me, it's more of a studying the medicine. It's like, it's one of my hobbies, like, be a practitioner of like, when I have a buddy that has an issue and I know what they're dealing with, whether it's addiction or mental trauma, I'm like, hey, go try this and go to these people. You know, like I've taken a few buddies of mine down to do it, and it's completely life changing for them.
Sure. Yeah.
And so for me, it was explaining. I think for Iboga is great for addiction. I feel like every one of us, like for me, I have an addictive personality, like severe HD, ADHD. I get hooked on things. I'm going to be like, just going to go to the full max with it. And so I thought it was a really good reset. Like I want to do it again because I feel like it's not one and done for me. Like I think you can, but for me, it's like I'm just a stubborn mule. I need to get that re-injection. I need to learn it more and. But the whole week is nice because you're with no cell phone. You're like detoxing. You're just in yourself. Like and it's hard to sit there in yourself for 24 hours when we're used to always having our cell phone.
Our little dopamine hits.
Yeah, nonstop. Yeah,
I get it.
So it's a good reset for sure for that, whether food or sugar or technology. I think that's one of our biggest addictions we have is constantly having our cell phone.
Yeah, even for me, I've been learning to fly planes. And I get like a phantom buzz where I think I put my phone in the back of the plane. Like I can't answer my phone when I'm up there flying a plane, like, and I'll check my leg. Like I feel like my phone's vibrating. Sometimes I'm up here at 6,000 feet, 7,000 feet trying to check my Instagram or something stupid like that. Someone texted me, stuff like that. It's crazy. They were smart, man. They got everybody hooked. People, that TikTok, man.
Oh, the fucking dopamine.
I know people that can't get off. I deleted that stuff, but I still got Instagram. But like, I don't even go on TikTok, man. I'm scared of that stuff.
They're so good at their algorithms.
So good.
It's pretty insane. I mean, it's crazy that they say that when you lost your phone or you feel like you lost your phone, it's equivalent to your body reaction to a terrorist attack.
No way.
I saw a study that talked about this, and I'm like, if actually you ever feel like you lost your phone or you left it somewhere, you're like, it does feel like that shock, like, oh shit, like that's my life, like what am I going to do? And so like you're right, like having that detox of like trying to like right now I won't bring my phone to my bedroom. Like it's one of those things like I'm trying to get better. It's so hard though now like you have a social media presence or
it's so hard to not wake up first thing you do is check your phone. Yeah. I've started to stop doing that. Like try to do first thing, wake up, open the curtains, get sunlight, drink my water, make my coffee, all those things before I check my home. But it's hard. It's really hard to not do that. And for me, I get more paranoid. I'd rather lose my wallet than lose my phone. Yeah. I'm like, I can just call and get my credit cards canceled and get, my driver's license. And that's just nuts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, especially the way everything backs up these days. But that's the fear I have. They
say it's like Elon Musk said it's our fifth limb.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it is. I mean, it's so critical to have it to be a part of society or business. But I do look and sometimes I think of like, man, when I'm like 65, I'm just flying to Africa and building wells or something, like somewhere there's no service. And because I'm an entrepreneur, I have for-profit companies. Like we got to run their social media. Nothing gets done unless you do it yourself nowadays.
You can't. You can't be off social and have a business. Hard. At least I don't think our business definitely doesn't. I get dozens of Instagram messages about stem cells every day. Like I can't even. Sorry if you DM me recently and I haven't gotten back to you. But it happens all the time. I get them. I didn't even know about those hidden messages for the longest time. I go in there, I had like 199 of them. I'm like, oh, sorry, didn't even know these existed.
People are upset at you too. Like I wrote you.
Well, people are in pain. You know what I mean? And I try to answer all of them personally. I get it. I was in massive amounts of back pain, and that's when I feel bad, you know what I mean? Or people, we take a lot of cancer patients, autoimmune patients, someone's DMing me, hey, my loved one has cancer, like, how do I, and then I don't get back to them for days, and every day matters with cancer, it's like, and being in back pain, neck pain, that nerve pain, every day sucks, like, thank God for stem cells, or I'd still be in pain from it, so.
I'm a believer.
So yeah, it's hard to get rid of the cell phone these days.
It's tough. I mean, especially there's we get hit up for the nonprofit, right? Because we had a big time celebrity post our stuff. We went public this year, and people always message like, "What can I do to help?" I'm like, I don't know. I think we're working on it now to try to create programs like a Sentinel to bring awareness, to bring training to people in certain regions that have a law enforcement background, but. It's tough. It's like I don't have an answer for you, and I'm also answering my 47.
What
emails.
Can the individual person, like I know I can help you raise money and stuff like that, but I guess be aware of it. But even that, it's like it is a pretty helpless feeling. I remember hearing that girl talk at Matt Murphy's event for Operation Light Shine, and her story. oh my God, I got so angry.
Yeah.
You know, just so angry about what a brave young girl to get up there and have to relive that and tell that story. Just like, you know, I don't want to say her life was ruined, but her perception of the world, her innocence. Okay, yeah, exactly. Her innocence, like her, you know, you could tell she was scared to walk to the Uber alone. And we're in like one of the nicest neighborhoods, and you know, we're literally in Ed's giant mansion in the night, you know, with all these guys around to protect her. You know, like we're like, hey, we'll walk you out to the car, but like, you know, just for somebody's daughter to have to be scared to get into an Uber, that scared, you know, like that did nothing to deserve it or anything. Like, it's just awful, you know. It's just like,
it's horrendous. I mean, and you think about all the children right now that are being physically abused at home, that one, they're mentally so groomed, they think it's okay, right? They don't find out later in life that it's not okay because these fathers or stepfathers, I mean, look at how they target single mothers, right? They know if you ever, there's an interview with a former pedophile that did 12 years, got out, and he talked about how he targeted. Have you ever seen this video?
no.
I highly recommend watching it. And he,
Where is it?
it's online. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
Yeah, he talks about what he would target. He would target individuals with weak men, right? Weak father figures. He would target individuals like single mothers with kids. He knows they're susceptible. He knows that needs it. And he'd come over and he had a script, a playbook that he would go and it would work.
God.
You know, like it's not stranger danger, man. These people embed it like themselves in it to their easiest prey. Just like a lion, you know, they're going to be sitting by the water because they know an animal needs to come up and drink water, right? They're going to do that. They're going to go work in youth groups. They're going to go work and be Boy Scouts. You're going to see the church that has it, right? You're going to see Disney. Yeah. Anywhere there's kids, they're going to embed them around it. And we're doing a terrible job at assessing this. We're working on some technology to help for employment of, you know, really tracking individuals and seeing what they're doing. We have a whole rollout that we're working on. It just takes time.
Yeah.
You know, and resources, you know, like we're just not spending the money. And I got shit for a podcast I did because I talked about the money we spent in Ukraine versus like spending here. Could you imagine what like $6 billion would do? Like that's a rounding error. They did a tax error and sent $6 billion extra. Imagine what $6 billion would do for law enforcement in the U.S. that are doing this every day, day in and day out. And we can't allocate that, but Congress
can't talk about politics.
Yeah, it's like, I don't care. That's kids for me.
I know, I get it, but yeah, the politics. I mean, that's a whole different podcast. America has forgotten about Americans. I mean, obviously, what's going on in Maui. We had a friend that lost their jiu-jitsu school in there, and people that lost like loved ones. And
it's crazy.
I don't know if this is true. Somebody else do the math for me, but I saw a meme that said that there's 22 million people in Ukraine, and the billions that we sent was about little less than $7,000 per person, but we only had $700 per household, not even per person in Maui. So, you know,
it's crazy.
It is what it is. You know, if people can't see it, then I can't stand it.
But
there's no good answers. There's nobody good to vote for. And I think
we
that's
spent a lot of money. Rand Paul said it best. I mean, he was
Rand Paul, bring him back.
Yeah,
Ron Paul. I like Ron.
Ron Paul was great
awesome.
too. Yeah. Ron Paul, Rand Paul, like they've said it for years. We spend so much money outside the U.S. And like, look, I fought the counterterrorism. I did Iraq. I did Afghanistan. I worked terrorism. Worked intelligence. You know, we spend so much money abroad versus, I mean, really fixing our system here. Yeah. And for me, it boils down to kids. Like, I don't feel like it's politics because that's just money and allocation of money. If we can allocate $6 billion, whatever, or $400 billion, whatever we spend, $40 billion, whatever the B there is, like that, one B could do a ton.
Break one off, yeah,
break one off. It's a rounding error for the money you're doing.
What's one out of 100, you know?
And the money you're siphoning for all your side projects. All those bills they have are padded with all the people making money off of that money that they send overseas. I mean, our political system is just completely flawed. Left, right, center, they're all, for me, like it's just, you know, I know a few good ones. Mark Wayne Mullen, he's a rock star out of Oklahoma, Senator Mark Wayne Mullen. Corey Mills out of Florida. Like, these guys went on a plane with me to Afghanistan when Afghanistan collapsed, right? Like, they were that serious about going and helping Americans. Like, they're, you know, Tulsi Gabbard, I think, is amazing, too. Like, there's some great, and she's not in politics anymore, but there's some great politicians, but they're overrun by the, I don't know if you want to call it the deep state or whatever conspiracy theory, or just the institution.
Right.
You know, the Pelosi's and the other McConnells that have been in politics for years that are just so corrupt.
Yeah.
So I don't
we got
know.
a bunch of old people that need to pass the torch.
Yeah, I think it's going to come. Eventually, the pendulum swings, right? Like, I think that happens where it just goes one way and goes the other way. I think 90% of us are probably all aligned with the same feelings.
Yeah.
You know, like I think we're all 90 or in the middle. You're going to have extremists on the right, extremists on the left that are going to be hell-bent on one topic and they're never going to let go.
Right.
You know, but I think 90% of
And it seems like those are the ones that always get amplified these days. It's
well,
terrible.
it sells, right?
Yeah, it does sell.
You know, like,
Sells clicks. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask you, how does the average listener help out Sentinel, but doesn't seem like you got that mapped up yet.
Man, I mean, I think, look, bringing awareness, we're working on that. I'm like, hey, how do you want to learn more about the topics? It's tough to say because I get hit up all the time. I'm like, well, who do we call? And we do have a tip line for it. The problem is if I said, call this number when you see something, 99.9% of it's never going to get investigated.
Yeah.
Because we're going to pass it and we're going to pass it off to a law enforcement. We're like, we don't have enough evidence.
Right.
Because you get oversaturated. So, like, we're actively working that issue of like, hey, how do we train the populace? So how do we make sure that maybe school teachers can identify grooming? How do your local church leaders, how do they identify kids that are trafficked, or maybe flight attendants? And, so we're looking at different areas of where trafficking happens or exploitation of children. And then how do we inject training? So we're looking at partners that we bring in that they're already done this. I'm not trying to recreate the wheel. There's a ton of training out there. But we're trying to how do we make it accessible for people to then get that training or awareness of this is what they could do? Because for me, yeah, I could say it's like, yeah, donate, more money in, the more operations we could do. But I really, like 100% of donations that come through our website go to operations. It doesn't pay for any overhead. We have a few donors that pay for our overhead. So we don't ever have to do that. But I care more about awareness. I would say talk to your politicians. Ask them these questions. Yeah. Like, why are we spending so much money overseas and not taking care of our law enforcement we have here?
Right.
Like our law enforcement is so underfunded that I would say I'm voting for whoever is going to vote for our children.
That's good. There you go.
That's what I would do.
Send some emails, make some phone calls.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Vote for people. Where do you stand? Go to the town halls.
Yep.
They need your vote, right?
Yeah.
For the most part.
Powerful. That is good. Yeah. Awesome.
Sorry, I get passionate about this. It's just
I know. I'm glad you're passionate about it. That's why I want to support you.
Yeah.
That's why I'm glad we fixed your neck and you're back to fix your shoulder.
Dude, I'm telling you, man, like you did some black magic on me with my neck.
No black magic, just Francisco's finest stem cells. That's all. Yeah.
I tell people, I'm like,
works for a lot of people. Not everybody. Nothing works for everybody, but I think we got 30 here this week.
Yeah,
right?
like all the clients,
big dinner
people
last night.
talking. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm trying to tell them, I was like, look, I can't promise you nothing, but I can just tell you my stories. Like the second I woke up, I felt my hand again. I know that's like you're not supposed to see instant results, but I felt the difference.
Well, in discs you can. I had the similar, like when I had my back done, by putting that little bit of volume in the disc, release the nerve.
Yeah.
And so I did too right away, where my left hamstring had been tight in a ball since the back surgery. And I couldn't straighten my leg all the way. I did 2 years of physical therapy, and I could never get and I used to be able to put both my hands flat on the ground in my jiu-jitsu years, both feet behind my head. And I lost all of that flexibility. But yeah, right after the procedure, when that disc expanded, it came off of that nerve, and I felt my hamstring release. So yeah, for some people, it doesn't mean new tissue grew in hours. That doesn't happen, right? It takes time for tissue to grow. But inflating that disc sometimes can take the pressure off the nerve. Now, it can also have the opposite effect too, where sometimes you inflate that disc and it can put more pressure on the nerve as well. And it's one of those things you just don't know until you try it. We don't know exactly, but I'm glad that you got some relief. I'm glad. I mean, you got very quick results. That's not normal for somebody to see that much improvement in their disc. But I do notice that people that are active and maybe that work out and stuff like that, when they break their bodies down, rebuild them. Not a doctor, not a scientist, but my anecdotal thing is I feel like those people frequently respond. All the pro athletes, the guys we get down here and stuff like that seem to respond quickly. So it could be part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I was blown away because I was like, oh man, because waiting 6 months, I'm like, I just want, because I had probably the injury for a year before I decided I was going to get the surgery. So it was like, it's been 2 years of injury where I can't really work out, and I will never take for granted working out again.
Right.
I can't believe of how much, not working out can lead to depression, anxiety, and everything else, and mental health issues. Versus just working out, like the endorphins and the drug, the feeling you get after working out. And so I mean, I was like, man, God, I hope this works, because it's like, now I'm going to have to go back to surgery if it doesn't work. And then, I just wasted another year. And so 2023 has been my hardest, hands down, year physically of like, and mental health that you have to deal with because of that. So I'm like, I was super stoked. I couldn't wait to get work on now. My shoulder's torn, but it's like, I could see finally the, light at the end of the tunnel.
That's awesome. Now we'll get your shoulder fixed up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna feel fun tomorrow.
Yeah, and shoulders hurt. Yeah. Shoulders hurt.
Yeah.
Well, cool, man. I saw Ryan's podcast where he gives away 2 gifts to people at the beginning. I don't want to steal his thunder, but I got a couple gifts for you. One of them is hysterical. So when Luke from We Are Change, last time you were down here, Luke from We Are Change was down here, the guy that's been to Epstein's Island and stuff like that. We had some awesome conversations. We went to dinner a few times. Tim Pool was down here too. We were starting our plan to invade some other Epstein territories. And then that weekend, when I went back to Vegas, after you guys left, my Uber driver picked me up, and he had these air fresheners. So I had to go on Amazon and get them for you right here. They have Epstein on them, and they say this air freshener didn't hang itself. I thought you'd get Luke's such a great guy, dude. It was so awesome. Like all the stories and stuff going back and forth on that. And then from my buddy AG with Toehold, best sandals ever. We got the Pedo Killer shirt here for you too. So we got you hooked up. And
Appreciate it,
man, thanks for coming in.
Dude, thanks, brother.
And keep doing what you're doing. Oh, and thanks for the SIG, dude. I haven't been able to go out there, so I've been trying to tack down the SIG spear for a while, and you made the magic happen in about 15 minutes with your connections, and but it's been too hot in Vegas for me to go out. But
it's not worth it.
I got 500 rounds.
I got a lot of guys ready to go. That are really good at shooting people in the face, or they were. So they can pretty much find any gun.
Hopefully, I never have to shoot anybody in the face.
This is their pride. This is their pride. Now they hunt pedophiles.
They can shoot them in the face. I don't mind. But I just want to get out there and do some long range. That thing is so sick too.
It's a good
amazing piece of equipment that thing is, for sure.
Yeah, man, I'm stoked for you to shoot it. We decked it out. We gave him a full camouflage. We kind of have our Sentinel Armist is what it's called. It's kind of, we have our own shooting line for it. So we get a high profile donor that is donating like 100,000 plus. We can have a rifle package with a pistol that goes into their donation. So it kind of, they get something out of just giving us money. They get a one of a kind, fully decked out.
That one's one of a kind you gave me, man. It's sick, dude.
We appreciate what you do for Sentinel. We appreciate being on the advisory board, helping us out. UN Ed, man. So
awesome. Let's go get you some stem cells.
Sounds like a plan.
Awesome.
Thanks, boss.